The asteroid belt churned like a graveyard of shattered worlds, jagged rocks tumbling in silent procession under the faint glow of a distant gas giant, their surfaces scarred by the remnants of forgotten battles. When the Dravex purge ships descended like a storm of chitinous fury, their spiked hulls emerging from the shadows with the inevitability of divine judgment. Plasma lances carving through the human convoy's fragile formation in searing arcs that turned transports into blooming fireflowers, the void alive with the screams of venting atmosphere and the crackle of hulls fracturing under ritual precision. In the heart of the lead transport's command deck, Lieutenant Cairo, Iron Voss, a hard-edged black male warrior in his early 30s with a chiseled jaw shadowed by stubble, piercing dark eyes under a cropped fade haircut, broad-shouldered frame clad in tactical armor scarred from countless skirmishes, gripped the console as alarms wailed like the damned, his voice a gravelly command that sliced through the pandemonium. Hold the line. Ambush or not, we don't break. Reroute power to shields, and give me eyes on those bugs. His piercing eyes scanned the holographic feeds, where Dravex elites swarmed the breached flanks, their carapaced forms hissing purity chants intercepted in fragmented bursts, a rhythmic prayer foreshadowing the planet purge, that hung like a noose over the sector, mandibles clicking in unison, as if the galaxy itself bowed to their erasure gods. The transport shuddered under a direct hit, bulkheads groaning as plasma scorched the viewport, and Cairo lunged for the recruit at his side, dragging her from a collapsing station amid a spray of sparks. On your feet, prove that top-of-class rank, or we're both cinders. Zara Hale, a good-looking black female warrior in her mid-20s, athletic and poised with sharp cheekbones, intense brown eyes framed by tight braids, her lithe build clad in a reinforced tactical suit, her stride flowing with a dancer's precision even under fire, each step deliberate and sure that turned heads even in the heat of battle. Scrambled up, pulse rifle snapping to her shoulder with the precision that had earned her accolades, her cropped utility jacket flaring as she returned fire, the bolt coring a drone's core in a burst of superheated gas. I'm not dying in this scrap heap, Lieutenant. Flank left. I've got your cover. Her voice fierce, sharpened by years of proving doubters wrong, brown eyes flashing with unyielding fire as she rolled behind a sparking panel, the suit's panels shifting with her fluid motion, a testament to her top-of-class agility amid the chaos. The convoy fractured around them, transports crumpling like foil under the Dravex onslaught, elites boarded in waves, spiked lances raised, faceted eyes gleaming with the certainty of an empire that saw humans as vermin to be erased, never warriors to be feared. But irony coiled in the smoke, the ambushers blind to the embers of resistance stirring in the wreckage. Cairo barked orders to the dwindling crew, his broad frame a bulwark as he unloaded his sidearm into a boarding elite, the shot punching through its ornate carapace in a spray of viscous ichor, stubble-shadowed jaw set in grim determination. Form up, Zara, hack that console for an evac ping. The rest of you, buy us time. Zara nodded, her tight braids whipping as she vaulted to the nearest terminal, fingers flying over the interface with the speed of someone who had dismantled Sims in record time. The tactical suit's reinforced panels flexing with her lean into the work, her movements balanced between lethal precision and effortless rhythm. On it, relays jammed, but I've got a backdoor. Hold him off, Iron. Cairo's piercing dark eyes met hers for a split second, his hard demeanor cracking just enough to reveal the respect buried under layers of command. Make it quick, recruit. Top of class means nothing if we're ash. The deck trembled as another lance breached the hull, elites pouring through in a tide of hissing zeal, their chants a guttural rhythm that echoed the intercepted fragments of a greater purge, a planet teeming with human fighters marked for erasure, the void outside blooming with the debris of fallen transports, screams fading into the cold black as the convoy's remnants fought for every breath. Aria Voss's signal pierced the static like a blade through silk, a golden pulse from the Starfire shuttle cutting the jamming haze, her voice crackling over the comms with the gritty resolve of the exiled beacon keeper, who had turned a derelict relay into a rallying cry at Haven 3. This is Voss, hold for extraction. We're punching through their lines, but make it count. Cairo's gravelly command snapped back, his sidearm barking to cover Zara's hack, the shot melting a drone's legs in a screeching heap. Copy that, convoys down to bones. Get us out, Voss, or the bugs win this round. Zara's fingers danced faster, the console sparking under her assault, intense brown eyes narrowing as data streamed. Dravex purge codes flickering with coordinates to a human-heavy world, a planet primed for annihilation, the revelation hitting like a lance to the gut. Got it, evac vector locked, but Lieutenant, their plans. they're wiping Epsilon Prime next. Thousands of our fighters, gone if we don't move. The elites pressed closer, lances igniting in a corona of ritual fire, carapaced priests at their four hissing hymns of purity, their faceted eyes gleaming with the certainty of victors who had never tasted reversal. But Cairo hauled Zara back, his broad frame shielding her as he fired point-blank, the bolt coring a priest's robe and sending it sprawling in a tangle of mandibles and ichor. The Starfire burst through the breach, its sleek hull scarred but unbowed, Arya at the helm with Clyra's hologram flickering beside her. The mid-20s Solari female hacker, her scaled blue-green skin etched with glowing bioluminescent tattoos that danced like digital veins across her sharp angular features, piercing violet eyes flickering with streams of intercepted data, clad in form-fitting rogue tech attire of a sleeveless vest embedded with holographic projectors, cargo pants lined with gadget pouches, and lightweight boots with anti-grav soles that seemed to hover even in projection, her long tendril-like hair extensions pulsing in rhythm with the code she wove. Docking now. Cairo, Zara, haul ass. I've scrambled their locks, but their elites are swarming like the zealots they are. Arya's voice carried the unyielding spark of her legend, gritty and commanding as the shuttle's bay doors cycled open amid the fray, neon holsters visible in the feed as she prepped for boarding. Cairo fired a final barrage, his tactical armor dented but holding, broad shoulders heaving as he grabbed Zara's arm. You heard her. Move, recruit. Top of class gets us out alive. Zara slung her pulse rifle, cutting through the smoke with athletic poise, her lithe form coiling with fluid power as she laid suppressing fire, her tactical suit's panels flexing with each shot. On your six, Lieutenant. Let's turn their ambush into ours. The bay sealed with a hiss, the Starfire banking hard into the asteroid belt, engines roaring as Dravex scouts gave chase, plasma lances streaking past in fiery arcs that scorched the hull, but Arya's piloting turned the shuttle into a comet of evasion, slingshotting around a tumbling rock to shake the pursuit, her green eyes locked on the sensors with the focus of someone who had danced with death too many times to fear its steps. Strap in. Clyra's got the jammers down, but their flagship's locking coordinates. Zara, that data you pulled, talk to me. Zara steadied against the bulkhead, her intense brown eyes meeting Arya's via the feed, tight braids disheveled but unbroken, the form-fitting suit hugging her lithe frame as she patched the console. Purge op on Epsilon Prime. Dravex fleet massing for orbital strike, thousands of our fighters planetside. If we hit their relay first, we can flip it, but it's suicide without backup. Cairo leaned in, his chiseled jaw set, piercing dark eyes flashing with the hard edge of command, tactical armor creaking as he crossed his arms. Backup's a dream, Voss. My unit's gone, and this recruit's green no matter her sim scores. We bail, or we buy it all. Arya's smirk cut through the comms, her voice laced with the conversational grit that masked deeper fires. Green? Sounds like my kind of party. Cairo, you lead charges. Zara, you hack gods. We're not bailing, we're ambushing their ambush. Epsilon Prime's our stand. Let's make it count. The Starfire plunged deeper into the belt, rocks tumbling like silent sentinels as Dravex scouts regrouped, their spiked forms cutting through the debris with ritual precision, lances igniting in a chorus that echoed the intercepted chants of a planet-dooming purge, irony thick in the void. The ambushers who had struck first now hunted by the remnants they sought to erase. Zara's fingers flew over the auxiliary panel, her sharp cheekbones taut with focus, the tactical suit's reinforced panels shifting as she moved with the poise of someone who owned the ground beneath her while she decrypted fragments. Relays in the outer ring, vulnerable to a slingshot hack, but their elites guard it like a hive queen. One wrong move, and we're the purge. Cairo's gravelly retort rumbled, his broad frame filling the frame as he checked his sidearm, stubble-shadowed jaw clenched. Wrong move's how I lost my squad. Stick to the plan, recruit. Voss, your rogue style's got us this far, but it's thinning. Clyra's hologram sharpened, her violet eyes narrowing as tattoos pulsed. Thinning? My slices say otherwise, signals pinging Thorn's fleet. They're en route, but we need that relay flipped first, or Epsilon's ash. Action crested as scouts closed, lances streaking like vengeful comets, the Starfire banking into a narrow gap between boulders, Arya's piloting a masterclass in defiance, her green eyes unblinking as she evaded a direct hit, the hull groaning under the G-forces. Jackson, cover fire. Zara, prep the hack probe. Cairo, if you've got doubts, save em for the bugs. Cairo fired from the bay door, his shot punching through a scout's hull in a spray of debris, broad shoulders rolling with the recoil. Doubts? Only if you fly like a rookie, Zara, on me. Let's show M-class rank in action. Zara launched the probe, her lithe frame coiling like a spring. Intense brown eyes locked on the feed as it burrowed into the relay's grid, the suit hugging her curves with practical grace. Probes in, decrypting now. Their codes are brittle, Lieutenant, like their gods. The relay sparked remotely, purge sequences glitching under the assault. But alarms blared. Dravex flagship warping in, its shadow swallowing the belt, lances igniting in a barrage that cracked the Starfire's shields. Arya snarled, "Hold, reinforcements inbound." As the first hit rocked the hull, debris exploding in a storm of fire, the tension hanging in the void like a blade poised to fall. The Starfire banked hard into the asteroid belts, churning more, engines roaring like a beast unchained as Dravex scouts gave chase, their spiked forms slicing through the debris with ritual precision. Plasma lances streaking in fiery arcs that scorched the shuttle's hull and lit the void in bursts of malevolent red. The golden pulse of the hacked relay still humming in the core, like a heartbeat refusing to quiet. Arya Voss steadied the controls, her fierce green eyes locked on the sensors, flowing dark hair whipping in the recycled gusts. Low-cut tank top and tight shorts clinging with the sweat of evasion, neon holsters humming as she patched a frantic evasive maneuver. Clyra, scramble their locks. Jackson, if you've got that turret online, now's the time. We're not feeding these bugs a free meal. The shuttle shuddered under a glancing hit, sparks dancing across the viewport like fleeting stars. But Clyra's hologram sharpened amid the interference, her scaled blue-green skin flickering with the strain. Bioluminescent tattoos pulsing erratically as she wove code through the net, sharp angular features etched with focus, piercing violet eyes narrowing. Locks scrambling, warp signatures fading, but their elites are burrowing like roots. Give me 10 seconds, Arya, and we'll shake M into the black. Cairo, iron, Voss braced against the bulkhead, his broad-shouldered frame a wall of tactical armor scarred from the ambush, piercing dark eyes flashing with the hard edge of a lieutenant who had seen squads shattered. Chiseled jaw set as he reloaded his sidearm with mechanical snap. Your rogue hacks nearly got us killed out there, Voss. My unit's gone because of signals like that. Next time, clear the damn plan. Zara Hale steadied beside him, her lithe build coiling with unspent energy, intense brown eyes meeting his with the drive of top-of-class fire, tight braids framing sharp cheekbones, form-fitting tactical suit with reinforced panels hugging her curvaceous silhouette. Her body moved in a rhythm that drew the eye without asking, even in the shuttle's lurch, as she slung her pulse rifle, cropped utility jacket flaring. With respect, Lieutenant, her signal's the only reason we're breathing. Let me take point on the next breach. I topped Sims for this, not to play backup. The bay doors cycled shut with a resonant clang, the Starfire slingshotting around a tumbling boulder the size of a frigate, G-forces slamming everyone against restraints as scouts veered off in a spray of debris, their lances igniting futilely against the rock's bulk, the void blooming with the wreckage of their overreach. Arya's smirk cut through the comms, her voice laced with the gritty resolve that had turned exile into legend. Hacks win wars, Lieutenant. Welcome to the team. Zara, you're on data dive. Cairo, if you've got a better play, I'm listening, but we don't break for bugs. Clyra's lilting voice eased the tension from her projection, pragmatic intensity softening to a wry edge as her tattoos dimmed. Friction forges steel. Use it, or it'll cut you. Relays secure. But that purge data Zara pulled? It's a noose tightening on Epsilon Prime. Human fighters dug in deep, Dravex fleet massing for orbital glassing. Cairo's gravelly retort rumbled, his cropped fade casting shadows under the cabin lights as he holstered his sidearm, broad frame shifting with restrained fury. Steel? My squad was steel. Ambushed because signals draw hives. We bail to regroup, not chase ghosts. Zara's intense brown eyes flashed, her lithe form leaning forward against the straps, tactical suit's panels flexing with her emphatic gesture. Her movements carried a quiet elegance, effortless yet undeniable. Ghosts? That data's a map to their heart. Let me crack it. I didn't sim 100 runs to sit quiet while they burn another world. En route to Epsilon Prime. The shuttle threaded the belt's narrowing gaps, rocks tumbling like silent sentinels as the team patched wounds and passed the stolen codes, the air thick with the metallic tang of scorched armor and the faint ozone hum of Clyra's hacks. Subplot friction simmered in the cramped bay. Zara hunched over the auxiliary console, fingers flying with top-of-class precision, tight braids falling forward as she decrypted fragments, her form-fitting suit hugging her silhouette in the dim glow, lithe form coiling subtly with the shuttle's sway. Weak point here. Relay in the outer ring. Vulnerable to a slingshot hack. Flip it, and their purge sequences loop on themselves. Cairo overrode from across the compartment, his piercing dark eyes narrowing, chiseled jaw clenching as he jabbed the display, tactical armor creaking with the motion. Stick to basics, recruit. 2 green for slingshots. We hit straight, my call, or we lose more than a squad. Irony coiled in the recycled air. The Dravex plans mirroring their own ambush, underestimating human fighters as scattered remnants ripe for erasure. Their priests' chants intercepted in bursts of arrogance that echoed the elites hissing from the breach. Arya mediated from the pilot's seat, her green eyes flicking to the rear feed, voice threaded with the unyielding spark that inspired without coddling. Green? Sounds like my kind of edge. Prove it in fire, not words, Zara. Cairo, your steel's welcome, but we bend or break together. Zara's frustration boiled low, her intense brown eyes meeting Cairo's in a challenge. The tactical suit's reinforced panels, shifting as she straightened, curvaceous form radiating the drive that had topped Sims. Fire it is, watch me bend their purge into knots. A sub-conflict ignited as scouts reappeared on sensors, their spiked hulls cutting through the belt like vengeful insects. Lances igniting in probing fire that grazed the Starfire's shields, alarms wailing like the ghosts of the convoy. Cairo dominated the response, lunging to the bay turret with broad-shouldered efficiency. His sidearm swapped for the mounted cannon that barked plasma in sweeping arcs, coring a scout's core in a bloom of debris, his hard demeanor a bulwark as he saved Arya from a boarding pod's lance that punched through the hull. Got your flank, move Voss. Zara pushed forward, her pulse rifle snapping true to disable a drone mid-dock. The quick hack from her wrist gauntlet frying its circuits in a shower of sparks, earning a grudging nod from Cairo, his piercing eyes softening briefly in the heat. Not bad, recruit. You've got fire, don't waste it on doubts. The slow-burn Tease flickered in their shared glance amid the repairs, Zara wiping sweat from her sharp cheekbones, tight braids disheveled, her lithe build coiling with unspent energy as the suit hugged her curves, her lithe form coiling with that powerful grace while Cairo patched a gash in his armor, his chiseled jaw relaxing for the first time. Foreshadowing whispered through Zara's overheard comms, Thorne's gravelly voice rumbling in a secure channel, praising her sim scores and hinting at promotion potential if she proved it planetside. The shuttle approached Epsilon Prime's outer ring, the planet a blue-green jewel scarred by orbital defenses, Dravex fleet massing like a hive of spiked monoliths, their purge arrays humming with the promise of glassing. Zara proposed her ambush plan over the console, intense brown eyes alight, tactical suit flexing as she gestured to the holomap. Slingshot the Starfire here, probe hacks the relay midspin. We flip their sequences before they lock on the fighters below. Cairo dismissed it with a wave, his broad frame looming, hard demeanor unyielding. 2 green for spins, straight assault, my call. We hit hard, not fancy. Action exploded as the initial clash hit, Dravex sentries swarming, lances igniting in a corona of ritual fire, elites boarding in waves of carapaced zeal. Cairo led the charge from the bay, his cannon dominating, coring a priest's robe in a spray of ichor, broad shoulders rolling with the recoil as he saved a teammate from a claw. Emotional weight pressed heavily, Zara's frustration boiling as she lay suppressing fire, her voice a sharp chime. I'm not just backup, give me the relay shot. Open loop tightened as they breached a Dravex outpost, Zara's hack stealing purge codes in a cascade of data. But alarms blared, fleet alerted, shadows converging. A counterattack lanced through. Cairo struck in the chest and crumpled as Zara dragged him to cover, her form straining under his weight. Arya's voice tore through the comms. Hold, reinforcements inbound. As the Dravex fleet warped in, their lances igniting like a storm of erasure, the ring blooming with fire. The void erupted in a blaze of golden fury as Arya's Firestorm wave sliced through the Dravex jamming haze, a relentless pulse that ignited the nebula's crimson depths, rogue fleets converging like moths to a defiant flame. Enclave runners with hulls patched in crystal shards ramming Dravex frigates with kinetic force, their impacts reverberating like thunderclaps across the void. Trader halls unleashing salvaged pre-schism warheads that pierced shields in cascading detonations, lighting the dark. With malevolent pearls, while Cryon's miners fired temporal missiles that froze elite squadrons in stasis loops, their spiked forms suspended like grotesque statues for human gunners to shatter with precision lasers cobbled from mining rigs. The air, nay, the fabric of space, crackling with the raw power of a species refusing extinction. Shift to Warlord Krozak's perspective aboard his flagship, the monolithic bastion trembling under the assault, its ritual spikes fracturing like brittle idols, his carapaced form towering in the command bay, mandibles twitching with the first crack of doubt as holographic feeds bloomed with the chaos of human defiance, priests at his flanks hissing panic chants, their ornate robes swirling like shadows of a faltering doctrine. Impure rabble defies the weave, redirect lances, summon all elites. This last stand ends now, he roared, his guttural voice effading him, faceted eyes widening as the irony bit deep. The Dravex who had dismissed humanity as faded embers now faced their own purity turned to ash, their warp fields twisting inward under Solace's human-rooted hacks. Aria coordinated from the Starfire's cockpit, her shuttle a speck of defiance amid the maelstrom, fierce green eyes blazing through the viewport as debris fields bloomed with explosions, her flowing dark hair plastered to her sweat-slicked neck, low-cut tank top and tight shorts clinging like second skin in the humid press, neon holsters humming as she patched directives across the net. Rams to flanks, shards to cores, ignite their doubts with every shot, with a last stand they counter-race. Her voice cut through the static with conversational grit, fingers dancing over consoles to amplify the signal, metaphors vivid in her mind. The fleet ablaze devouring shadows, the nebula a wound cauterized by human will. Battle diversity exploded in unscripted brilliance. A rogue pilot, his fighter's hull scarred from nebula runs, slingshot into a Dravex cruiser's ventral array, the impact crumpling spiked plating and buying seconds for an enclave volley to split the enemy in half, explosions painting the void in vibrant hues. Jackson, commandeering a salvaged runner, led a flanking push, his grizzled face alight with vengeance for a lost crew, turret barking plasma in sweeping arcs, gruff voice crackling. For my mates, your signal turned dust to dynamite, Voss. Let's burn 'em down. Mara fought beside him, her shard launcher hurling temporal grenades, wide eyes narrowed to a warrior's focus, her patched jumpsuit whispering resolve. From glassed homes to this, your spark didn't just call help, it called the fight we were starving for, Voss. For my family's ashes, hold the line. Clara's hacks amplified the chaos from her relay, Solace turning Dravex jammers inward, her bioluminescent tattoos flaring like solar bursts, sharp angular features tense with retribution, violet eyes streaming code. Their nets unravel. Purity's their noose now, Aria. My glassed world avenged in this fire. The moral crucible flared as Aria threaded a rift. Solace's warp echoes tempting surrender. Let the rogues burn to spare the core. But defiance roared back, her voice steady against the viewport's blaze. We don't kneel to shadows. Humans rewrite the stars. Amplify it all. Let the firestorm devour their doubts. Repetition wove through the net. Last stand ignites. Echoing from Jackson to Mora, Clara to the swelling ranks, as fleets united. Trader rams cleared paths, enclave shards chained with Thorn's dreadnought thundering in. The Admiral's gravel voice rumbling, his lined face framed by a grey beard flickering on Aria's feed, scarred overcoat billowing. Ghosts to Inferno, Voss. Your signal reborn us. We broadside their heart with warps turned weapons. Phase shift broadsides phased through armor. Dravex hulls imploding in purity loops, the void blooming with shattered hymns. Climax crested at Crozak's flagship, its spires reeling under the assault. Area's Starfire docking amid venting corridors, elites hissing as they lunged with plasma-laced lances. Aria moved like liquid fire, welder flashing in zero-G spins that left trails of molten claw and chitin, neon holsters deploying EMP chaff that fried cloaks and drones alike, her body twisting mid-leap to evade a sweeping mandible, dark hair a halo around her snarling face. An elite charged from the shadows, its spiked arm whirring toward her throat, but she spun low, welder arcing up to shear the limb in a spray of ichor, the alien screeching as it staggered. Your gods falter faster than your fleet, Bug. Pray harder, she quipped, boots kicking off a bulkhead to launch at the next, plasma beam coring its thorax in a burst of superheated gas. Jackson and Mara breached an airlock, his pistol cracking, her grenades freezing squads for Thorn's borders to shatter. Clara's symphony peaked, Solace unraveling the Armada's cohesion, priests' chants fracturing into screams. Crozak cornered Aria in the command chamber, runes glowing, his towering form looming, mandibles flaring. Frail embers fade. Your last stand crumbles, he boomed. But Aria stepped closer, welder scorching a rune, Solace's hack imploding shields, irony peaking as purity purged itself. Your gods pray louder than they fight, Crozak. Humanity's fire outlasts your weave, she said, the chamber trembling as broadsides hammered, elites routed. The warlord's claw lowered, retreat broadcast in a hiss, Armada limping into the nebula, spiked silhouettes fading. Subplot Climax unfolded in the flagship's lower decks, where Zara and Cairo pressed a secondary breach, elites swarming the corridors in a tide of carapaced zeal, lances igniting to block their path to the auxiliary purge controls. Cairo dominated the vanguard, his broad frame a whirlwind of tactical fury, sidearm barking to core a priest's robe in a spray of ichor, but a counterswarm flanked him, an elite's claw raking his armor, pinning him against a sparking bulkhead as mandibles snapped inches from his throat, his piercing dark eyes widening for the first time with the shadow of defeat. Zara's lithe form coiled like a spring from the shadows, intense brown eyes locked on the fray, tight braids whipping as she launched a grapple line from her wrist gauntlet, the cable whipping through the zero-G air to snag the elite's spiked limb mid-strike, yanking with top-of-class force that tore the alien free and slammed it into a drone cluster, sparks erupting in a chain reaction of fried circuits. She vaulted forward, pulse rifle snapping true to finish the elite in a burst of superheated gas, her form-fitting tactical suit flexing with the motion, curvaceous silhouette cutting through the smoke as she hauled Cairo to his feet, each motion carrying a blend of power and fluidity that turned combat into choreography. "On your feet, Lieutenant. I've got this." Your steel's earned a breather. Cairo staggered up, chiseled jaw slack for a beat, piercing eyes meeting hers with raw respect, his hard demeanor cracking like the hull under fire. "Damn, recruit, you just saved my ass. Top of class doesn't cover that fire." The slow-burn Tease ignited in their shared breath amid the venting alarms, Zara's sharp cheekbones flushed. But the moment shattered as Thorn's boulders stormed in, the Admiral's gravel voice rumbling over comms. "Voss, controls secured, planet's purge flipped, their fleets looping on itself. With the flagship secured and Solace's relic-hacking arrays integrated into the Alliance net," Aria broadcast from the core, her voice a galactic call. "Humans, enclaves, rogues, fleets, the Empire struck our shadows, but we ignited a firestorm. The last stand holds, forged in grit, not lies, rise and claim the stars." Pings flooded, enclaves cheered in caverns, rogues hooped, Thorn's salvo lit the void. Unity sealed in pacts. On a reclaimed station orbiting Epsilon Prime, survivors gathered, crystal-lit halls thrumming with the planet's spared breath, Jackson clasping her hand. "From ash to this. Your signals are inferno," Zara raising a shard. "Last stands ours now. For my family's light," Clara nodding, blazed together. Thorn pinned Zara's corporal stripes and medal, gravel voice thick. "Top of class earned. Lieutenant Voss recommends, and I seal it. You're the spark, Hale." Cairo's nod sealed it, eyes soft on hers. Aria on a viewport, green eyes fierce, stars ours, grinning at their glance. Emotional beats lingered. Exile's scars healed, lost crews avenged, resolve forged. Solace whispered, "Greater shadows stir," teasing threats. Humanity's blaze, unquenchable, echoed in the wind, the firestorm a promise of wars to come.